Ram has asked about the relationship between the individual self, the jivas, the individual consciousness that we think we are. What's the relation of that to the absolute consciousness, the one consciousness? And Vasishta has begun by explaining how as soon as a notion arises, then this gives rise to notions of an individual in an individual self. On account of its nature as consciousness, when the jiva entertains the notion of egosense, it builds time, space, motion and substance, and functions in and through the body. So it's on account of its nature as consciousness. This is its nature as awareness. It's the nature of awareness to be aware of something. And when there's awareness of something, then there's total identification with that object of awareness. So when there's things to identify with, there needs to be order. And this order is in terms of time and space. These are the parameters by which our mind orders phenomena. There's also motion and substance, motion and resistance. We've got this twin experience of freedom of movement and then resistance. We can keep walking until we hit something. This is a fundamental part of the experiencing which goes on, which we translate into here and there, notions of here and there, close and far. And then with all that we build up the idea that we're functioning through a body. It then perceives all these unrealities, because that's what they are, within itself as if they were real, even as a person dreams of his own death. So we experience ourselves as an individual that progresses from childhood to young adulthood, middle age, and then old age, and then death. Forgetting its true nature, it then identifies itself with its own false notions. These are the ideas that we identify with. We identify with them to the extent that we assume that they're the natural course of events. This is how things are. This is the force of the conviction that we have. We totally identify with all that. We identify with notions that we've got about ourselves. We've got very definite ideas about who we are and the world out there. Everybody's got a different set of ideas, and yet we all believe that our set of ideas is the correct way of looking at the world. We might be a bit more modest and say, well, I don't really understand. There are smarter people than me that know more. But that's the idea that you're conveying. You are saying this is your idea of things about you and the world. Even if you say you've got no idea, you cannot help but have some idea about the world, your relationship with it, your capacity for understanding it, all the rest of it as part of your idea about yourself and the world. So this is what we identify with. It's not given as fact. We take it as fact. We take our own understanding as fact. This is a tendency that we have to mistake understanding for fact, because we identify with our understanding so much. So these are our own false notions that we identify with. It assumes an accidental relationship with the five senses and experiences their function as if such experience were its own. It says accidental, but I suspect it means coincidental. It shines as the Purusha, the indwelling presence, and Virat, the cosmic person, endowed with these five faculties. This is still the subtle and mental being, and this is the first emanation from the Supreme Being. So this is an interesting one. It shines as the indwelling presence, the Purusha, and Virat, the cosmic person. I suppose this is our identity in a very deep sense, in a very primordial sense, before we've got caught up with notions of a personality. There is this embryonic identity. But I think we'll hear more about that in a minute. So this is described as the first emanation from the Supreme Being. It's the first point of removal, if you like, or the first stage of removal from awareness of itself. It's that primordial distinction between self and other. So that's the Purusha and the cosmic person. The Purusha is a sense of a real me inside here somewhere, and the Virat, cosmic person, is something different from that. This person arises of its own accord, grows, decays, expands and contracts, then ceases to be. He is of the nature of mind, notion or thought, and being subtle is known as the puryashtaka, the eightfold city. Puryashtaka is sometimes called the subtle body. It's what is not the physical body. It's all aspects of our individuality apart from the physical body. And it's called the eightfold city because there's 8 aspects which will be listed in a minute. This subtle being, this is the puryashtaka, is small and large, manifest and unmanifest, and pervades everything inside and out. His limbs are 8. The 5 senses and the mind for the 6. The egosense and being-cum-non-being. So we've got the 5 senses, the mind, sometimes regarded as another sense, the sense by which we entertain thoughts and aspects of our imagination. We've got the ego sense, which is a sense of self, and being-cum-non-being. Being-cum-non-being is the buddhi, the aspect of the puryashtaka called the buddhi. It's essentially, well, it's got lots of different shades of meaning, but it's the subtlest aspect of the psyche. It's that which actually gives rise to notions of being and non-being. In a sense, it's the heart of the cognitive process. It's that tendency to divide things into what is real and not real. All the Vedas have been sung by him. By him have the modes or rules of conduct been laid down. All these prevail even today. So this has been put into an external form, like Manu, who was the ancient Hindu lawgiver. But it's what's happening within the heart of our psyche. It's what is determining what is real and what is not real. So it's been externalized here in the form of the cosmic person, the Virat. And we get a description of the Virat in the next video.